Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What I want to do today is I want to start gathering the components and creating some of the ingredients that I need to make an old school medicinal called the black salve. And the black salve was a drawing salve that had several different components in it. But the main drawing component of the black salve was plantain. And Plantago major is what Matthew Woods called the master drawing plant. So you can take Plantago major, and we'll look at it a little closer, but this is one of the leaves of Plantago major, and you could just put this in your mouth and chew it up and create what's called a spit poultice, and you could place that on an area that you had been bitten by a tick or some type of insect that may have injected venom in you, like a wasp or a bee. You could use it on a boil, an infected splinter, anything like that topical. You could use this as a spit poultice to draw that infection or that venom or whatever's in there causing you problems out. A drawing salve is a more concentrated form of that simple spit poultice that has a couple other ingredients in it. And what we want to do with this is we want to truly draw the drawing properties from this plant, and to do that we're going to infuse it in oil. But let's look at this plant up close real quick, and then we'll go harvest some of it right here, fill up our bush pot with as much as we can get in there, go chop it up, and then we'll make an oil infusion, and that will be the first portion or ingredient of our black drawing salve. Stay with me. Okay, so this large leaf is Plantago major, and there's lots of it along this old township dirt road. This road is very, very rarely used, and it grows in the middle as well as on the edges. There's lots and lots of medicinal plants that grow along here, and this is kind of intermixed and intermingled with lots of other things. But understanding how to identify this is very simple. It has a pretty broad leaf in Plantago major. There's also a longleaf plantain. But if you turn that plantain over, you'll see those long veins in the plantain, and they're very fibrous. When you pull that leaf, you'll have those fibers will be hanging out of the leaf itself. That's a pretty good way to help you identify the plantain. So we're going to harvest quite a bit of this, the larger leaves, and we're going to put this into our bush pot and take it up and work on it up at the top. So stay with me, guys. All right, so once we've got our plantain, the next thing we want to do is we want to cut it up. Just kind of dice it up fairly fine, just like this. Get that in our bush pot. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to chop it up. And all we're doing here is increasing the surface area somewhat to let those volatile properties of the plant escape into the oil as we're creating this infusion. So now we've got our bush pot fairly full. The next step in this puzzle is to add oil into this pot so that we can infuse those properties into an oil that we can add to other things. What we're going to use is we're just going to use extra virgin olive oil here, right from Walmart. We could use animal fats and things like that if we had to do this in a woodland environment. And I'm only going to put enough oil in here to cover the herb that I have in there. No more than that. Push it down in there. Mix it up really good, just like this. Again, I just want enough in there really to cover the herb. And now I'm going to place this over the fire and heat it up really, really well. It doesn't necessarily have to boil, but I want it real, real hot. and I'm going to leave the lid covering it, and then I'm going to take it off and let it steep like any other infusion for a little while. But because I'm using oil and not water, I need to superheat this oil to draw those properties out of the plant. Now at this point we want to control that because we don't want to burn the oil. So we have to watch what we're doing at this point. Okay, so we've had that over a low fire for about 15 minutes, and at this point you can see it's still bubbling in there. We have pretty much cooked this plantain and drawn all of the healing and drawing properties out of that plantain and into the olive oil. Now we're going to let it cool, and then we're going to strain it off into another holding container that we can use to pour out of for other medicinals. All right, the next piece of this puzzle is we need some pine tar. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a cavity in this fire pit, just like this. And we're going to put a small tin in that hole. Fill in around it. We don't want to contaminate it if we can help it, so be careful filling it back in for the moment. Get it filled up like that. Now we have another tin that we filled with chunks of fat wood. Okay? And I filled it up as tight as I could get it. Now I'm going to punch a hole in the bottom of this, put it on top of this tin, and set it on fire to extract the pine oil out of this out of this fat wood. And that will be the next ingredient in our black salve. Alright, so we still got some wood gas fire coming out of the side of this tin that fat wood's in, where it kind of blew the top off of it a little bit, creating a crack so that the gas could escape. Now we can go ahead and lift it up off the top of that container below and kind of see what we've got. Let me grab a pair of tongs here and we'll do that. Okay. So what we got down in this tin, I'll move the camera up there, is pine tar. And you don't have a lot of it, because you didn't have a giant tin of fat wood. It takes a lot to make it happen. But that's enough for what we need for that can of this black salve. Okay, now what we have basically left in that tin is going to be charcoal. It's pine charcoal, but it's charcoal. And now we need some beeswax. Now what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get our tin out of the dirt, just like this, with our pine tar in it. We're going to get our fire over here, get all of our hot coals over here so that we can utilize them to finish this process. And we're going to set this tin right on top of these hot coals and drop our beeswax in. I think we've got more beeswax than we need, so I'm going to cut this down just a little bit more, in half basically. And I want to add this beeswax just a little at a time here and get it melted. So I want to get that tin now, it's about a quarter of the way full, a little less. I want to get it almost halfway full with beeswax. And then I'm going to add some essential oil. Okay, so now we got our beeswax melted into our pine tar. and we're a little over a quarter of the way full, but not quite half, so about 1/3. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this oil and we're going to end up pouring this off and straining it into a larger container, but for now we can pour some of it directly out of here into this and fill it about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch from the top, and heat that up for a minute. And that was our plantain infused oil. Now if we really want to get a good spike on this thing, we can add a little bit of tea tree oil to this before we let it cool down. But this salve is good just the way it is. You have plantain for the drawing properties, you have pine tar for its antiseptic properties, and this is a great drawing and antiseptic type salve that you can carry in your backpack. That's fairly simple to make even over a campfire like we did today. Okay folks, so when we're done, what I've done here is I've got this batch is starting to cool down, and I kind of put it in the fridge to hurry the process, but it's not completely hard yet. It's getting ready to rain, so I wanted to kind of show you this and get it over with. I've got a batch here that I made in bulk before. So this is the consistency it should have. It should be something that you can get a good smear of it on your finger and put it onto some kind of a bite or a wound, just like that, okay? And something like this is a very useful item to put in your backpack. Good medicine, and it is fairly simple to make. Now you've got some byproducts from this process that are also useful. If you think about it, you still have a lot of this oil that's infused with plantain. It's got a lot of drawing properties, so you can use that for other medicinals as well. And then you've got this charcoal that you made from the process of extracting the pine tar. You now have pine charcoal. So you've also got some coal there, charcoal, that will take a spark readily, so you have charred material. You have medicine that you've made, and then you have more additive for other medicinals, hygiene items and things like that in the plantain oil itself. So it's a really good project, but it does take some time. And we've spent 3-4 hours making this very small batch. In 3 or 4 hours you can make a lot larger batch like I did when I made this one. But you can make small batches like this just as easy around camp if you need to. And like I said, you could substitute olive oil for some type of animal fat if you needed to as well. Rendered coon fat or possum fat, something like that would work just fine. Deer tallow would work as well. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining for this video today. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. Follow our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.